in this video, I want to address probably the number one reason why adult music learners quit and give you some tips to avoid falling into that trap. My name is Josh Gu, and I'm taking my years of experience learning, teaching, and performing, and sharing all of my best clarinet and music tips so you can get more out of your practice, and most importantly, have fun. You can learn more about all of my many resources at quickstartclarinet.com, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel and hit the bell to get notified when I post new videos. First, I want to say that this doesn't just apply to clarinet, and it probably doesn't even just apply to music, and you can apply this to many other hobbies as well. So I think it's going to be an important sort of mindset framing that I think can apply to lots of different areas of your life. So kind of keep that in mind as we're going through the examples and the tips here. Now, I want you to think about your playing, whether you're a clarinetist or whatever musician you are, or again, whatever hobby you're applying this to. And think about as you're learning, and probably the number one frustration, and having taught many adult students, I think that number one frustration is the feeling that you should be better than you currently are. You should be able to do these things. You've been playing for X amount of time, so you should be comfortable with X, Y, or Z by now. And the way that this will often come up is kind of frustration in playing, where you're playing through something and you make a mistake, and it's a mistake that you've made dozens of times before. It's maybe even a mistake that you fixed several times with a teacher, and it's still coming up. And then you start beating yourself up thinking like, why am I even doing this? Again, I've been playing for so and so long of a time and I'm still having these issues. Like, what's wrong with me? I must just not be cut out to play this instrument or do this hobby or whatever it may be. Now, I suspect if you're having those feelings and those kinds of frustrations in your playing or whatever the hobby is that you're doing, I think that comes from this comparison to other things that we're competent at in your life, especially if you're an adult learner, but this can even apply to children as well, but very much especially if you're an adult learner. You've probably had a successful career, or you're sort of moving your way up the ladder in whatever your career may be, and you feel like you're at a certain level of achievement, and you expect to be at that same level of achievement in your clarinet playing, or again, whatever the hobby is. And that's simply not a fair comparison. You've had years and years and years of experience in your career and years of working your way up and building new skills and developing yourself. So it's not fair to assume that you're going to have that with playing an instrument, because when you're playing your instrument, you're at step one, you're at square one, you haven't had those years to build up. So you go from this life where you're competent in your career and you're successful in your career, and then all of a sudden you're doing something new that you're suddenly not very successful at, and you're thinking to yourself, well, I'm successful and I kind of identify as a successful person who's at this certain level of achievement. Why am I not at that level of achievement on the instrument? And this is a dangerous thing to be getting into, because it leads to those feelings of frustration, and it's not fair because you haven't been working at the instrument as long and you just truly aren't at that level of achievement. And that's the reason why you're learning an instrument or doing whatever the hobby is in general, because you want to learn something new and you want to do something new and different, right? Now, to play devil's advocate to that a little bit, and you might be thinking this in fact, is that okay, sure, I'm not at that certain level of achievement, but I've started new jobs or pivoted careers or shifted what I was doing in my company or whatever it is, and I picked it up a whole lot faster than I'm picking up this clarinet playing thing. And that's also a fair sort of criticism and critique and observation, but I think also whatever it is that you shifted to had much more foundation than your clarinet playing does. Think about even a significant career change to an entirely different field. Yes, you're learning tons of new stuff and tons of new ideas, but you still have your years and years and years of experience with things like knowing how to read, knowing how to do math, knowing how to use a computer or technology or whatever it may be. So even in the biggest career shifts, you still are coming to it with a stronger foundation and a sort of stronger underlying level of achievement than playing the clarinet. Because I don't think you have very many years or any more years than you've been playing the instrument of making a clarinet embouchure, for example, or blowing a strong, steady, focused airstream. Those kinds of skills that are the foundation of playing an instrument are completely different from the skills and foundation of whatever your career is or whatever you're doing with your life. And that's also true for reading music. Again, reading your language, that applies to every single career out there and will give you that base level of achievement. Reading music, something completely different unless you've been reading music before. And you'll also probably find this to be the case if, for example, maybe you played piano growing up and you're quite proficient at reading music, but you're learning clarinet new as an adult. I bet reading the music is not so much of a problem for you. Yes, maybe putting the fingerings on the clarinet are because you have no experience with that, but reading the music maybe isn't a problem. So you have to realize that no matter what you're doing in your career, you're going to have a higher level of achievement in your career and just have that higher level of base achievement than brand new learning an instrument. So my big tip to avoid those feelings of frustration and wanting to give up and feeling like your progress hasn't been worthwhile in your playing is to treat yourself more like you're a child learning the instrument. You would never do that in your career, even again, if you're changing career paths or things like that. You wouldn't be like, well, I'm a completely newborn child, never done this before, let's figure it out. Again, you're going to have that kind of base level of achievement built up. You don't have that with playing an instrument, so treat yourself that way. Treat yourself like you're a fifth grader picking up the instrument for the first time, learning music for the first time, and have that patience to realize that it's going to take you a little while to get to wherever you think you should be. That's my other big tip to avoid this is stop shitting on yourself. Don't think that you should be able to do anything at any point in the playing. Even the things that you fixed before and fixed dozens of times, that's okay if they're still coming up as recurring problems. Heck, I've been working on a good staccato articulation for over 10 years now, and my staccato articulation still sounds terrible sometimes. And I still have to remind myself, no, I know how to do that better, and I can make that better. And I don't beat myself up for it, being like, oh, I've been working on this so long, I should be able to do a good staccato by now. I just think, oh, that staccato sounded bad. Let me do the things that I know to do to make it sound better. Let me work on it a little bit. Okay, that sounds better. Great, I can move on. That's the kind of mindset that you should approach as you're learning things. Don't assume that you have any base level of achievement and work it up, because you really realistically probably have no more growth than the amount of time you've been playing, and the growth is going to be a lot slower because you're starting from zero rather than any midpoint along the journey, like you have with all of your soft skills and hard skills and all those career things that we can apply to our careers. So I hope that's a helpful little bit of a mindset shift for you. And if you've been thinking, I should be able to do X, Y, or Z because I've been playing for X amount of time, let go of those feelings. Trust that you're building up those foundational skills. Keep doing the work to build those foundational skills really well and climb that achievement ladder just like you climbed the career ladder. But know that you're starting from square zero when you're starting to learn a completely new hobby like playing the clarinet. And also, of course, thank you so much for watching this video. Let me know if you have any questions or thoughts in the comments, and I look forward to seeing you in another video. And last but not least, a huge heartfelt thank you to the Dennersons. This is like the Quick Start Clarinet family who supports the channel and helps to make everything that I do possible. If you would like to support the channel and get some awesome rewards in return where we can work one-on-one over video and you can have my full support moving forward on your clarinet journey, then go to quickstartclarinet.com/supporter.